If you would, go ahead and please find a seat. Call the meeting to order. We'll start with roll call.
Commissioner Allen?
Present.
Commissioner Norwood?
Here.
Commissioner Siragusa?
Here.
Commissioner Roberts? Here. Commissioner Stallings?
Here.
Commissioner Orr?
Here.
Mayor Pinkinen?
Here. All right. Invocation tonight will be by Matt Spann from Cherokee Strip Baptist Association, followed by a flag salute with Commissioner Whitney Roberts. Sir.
Let's pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening to praise you as a God who is totally trustworthy, worthy of our faith, a God who gives hope in the midst of any circumstances, and a God who loves us so much that you would send your Son. Lord, I pray for the deliberations in the meeting tonight, that you would give wisdom to each of those that are involved in making decisions about our city. And I pray for each of these who are on the city council, who give of their time and energy, not just for this meeting, but meetings and conversations behind the scenes that we don't often see, but are giving on behalf of our city. I pray that you would bless each one of them and that you would generously pour out your wisdom on all the decisions that have to be made. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you both. Item number 3, minutes. Item 3.1, consider approval of minutes of the regular commission meeting of February 15th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion, corrections? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item 4, awards, presentations, proclamations, and organizational business. Item 4.1, present pet available for adoption at city's Animal Welfare Department.
Would you calm down? All right, tonight I brought out Bonnie. Bonnie was an owner surrender. She has been here with us for 22 days. She's our longest resident. She's spayed. She's up to date on all of her shots. We actually have all the records for that. The only thing about Bonnie is she needs a home where she's the only pet. She's not a fan of other animals. She's a thief, a treat thief, Bonnie. And she's really smart. She knows sit. Bonnie. Come on, give me a look full. Sit. Sit. And shake.
Oh my goodness.
Good girl. But she is ready for her new home. She's anxious being at the shelter. If you're interested in Bonnie, we're located at 1200 South 10th. Like I said, she's been here for 22 days. She really needs to find a place. I know.
Sounds like we have some takers. Good thing my wife is not here right now. Have me, Doug.
Keep going. All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 4.2, present Leadership Oklahoma proclamation. Leadership Oklahoma, we have a Leadership Greater Enid here. They also have a state level organization that does that, and they're going to be visiting Enid on Friday. So I'll be addressing them and reading the proclamation to them as well, but I wanted to read it for your benefit this evening. Whereas Leadership Oklahoma brings together Oklahoma leaders, making Oklahoma the leader, and whereas they bring together a diverse network of dynamic leaders who increase awareness and commitment to service energizes Oklahomans to shape our state's growth, and whereas in this network Oklahoma ranks over 1,600 graduates, and whereas Leadership Oklahoma, Class 34, continues to foster change for the better in Oklahoma. Now, therefore, I, George C. Pankin, Mayor of the City of Enid, do hereby proclaim March 4th, 2022 as Leadership Oklahoma Class 34 Day. to show appreciation for their efforts in making Oklahoma a better place to live. In witness whereof, I have hereunder set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Enid to be affixed on this first day of March 2022. Signed, George C. Pankinen, Mayor of Enid. So I'll present that on behalf of the city this Friday. So just to let you know. So thank you. Item 4.3, appointment of Board 4 Commissioner Whitney Roberts to the Enid Regional Development Board of Directors.
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Oh, we have one abstaining because she didn't want to vote for herself. So it would be 6-1, but that's good enough to carry. Thank you. Next up, we have public comments. We have several that have asked to speak, 8, I think 10. So I'll take them in the order that they were listed. I believe everybody wants to speak about the same topic, and that's the either the bank or Great Plains City building topic. If that's not true, I'll take you in the order here, and you can correct me when you come up. A couple of the rules. Just a reminder that everybody has 3 minutes to speak. You can't yield your time to any other speaker. Everybody gets their 3 minutes, and that's what they can do. Just as a reminder, this is not an agenda item tonight. We can't consider it. We can't vote on it. So don't look for feedback from the commissioners because that's not the role tonight. But what it is the role tonight is we are listening and value your opinions about this topic. The staff has been tasked to bring us a plan soon, and we'll be looking for that. So it'll be more appropriate at that time. So this topic will come back again. That said, I want to know what people are thinking right now, today. So I appreciate the fact that that everybody had signed up. So again, I'll take everybody in the order that they signed up, starting with Kinsley Jordan.
Thanks, Mayor, Councilman, Councilwoman, City Manager. Thanks so much for this time. First off, I'm here to do 3 things intentionally. The first is to thank you. The second is to clarify some of our intention. And third is to just let you know our way forward. My name is Kinsley Jordan. I'm a board member for Making a Difference and also the chair for the Red Tails Aviation Flying Program for the Enid Youth Center. First off, I want to say thank you. It goes without having to be said that the investment into the future generations of Enid, the future men and women that are going to sit in your seats in a mere 15 years is important. And I don't think that's, frankly, a point that really needs to be debated, and I would question anybody who would want to make that a debate. Investing into the future generations is intentional. It's not something you do accidentally. It's something you do with the purpose of thought. And those are actions that the council has intentionally taken over the last several years to say, you know what, we do need to invest into the youth of this community. Because we've seen the loss of a very important industry leave Enid because of one of the reasons that it needs to be a family place of which not only can we bring jobs, but we can bring families and have a place that can support a well-rounded and well-maintained family structure. And there are a couple gaps in Enid. One of those is the middle school area. We have great elementary school programs, phenomenal high school programs, but there's gaps here in the middle for our the most impressionable age, the most impressionable time, our middle school aged youth. And I just want to say thank you to the council and those who are on this council and those who have been on the previous council that have made that an intentional point of investment, because we know that is critically important. The second thing is to clarify. I realized in the last couple weeks with the Enid Youth Center and the Red Tail Flyers program, which is an aerospace aviation-based program, something that wows anybody that thinks about it as we think of the phenomenal regional airport we have, Vance Air Force Base, that we're reminded of the freedom we have every day as the T-38s, T-6s, and T-1s scream overhead. We are a flying community. Enid is an aviation community. It may not know it yet, but it is. And the reality is there are many intentional partnerships that have been made, not only with the Red Tail Flyers Aviation Program, the Youth Center program that I'm talking about, but also there's been intentional investments made and partnerships made with organizations across Enid that want to see this come to fruition, of what it means for industry, bringing aviation industry into Enid, because they realize we have built a pipeline of aviation from the time somebody is in junior high all the way to being a professional aviator, or maybe a professional programmer, or something that would inspire them in the aviation realm. The last couple of weeks, to be honest, have brought well, first I'll say this, is that the Red Tails Flyer program is intended to bring stability, growth, development, education, and inspiration, most importantly, to children that may not have that stability and frankly have an insecure capability in their life. We have kids right now that are sitting somewhere that need someone in this room to care intentionally about them and their development. With that stability being the case, the last couple weeks we've seen instability with the decision for the building with the Great Plains Bank focus, which previously 1 year ago we had a lease agreement approved by the council to say it's going to be a 10-year program for this, for the Red Tail Flyer program and making a difference. Because we are foundationally based in stability and building security for this next generation, and because of the insecurity that has taken place and the instability, to be honest, with the decision of what's going to happen with the building, in order for us to pour into generations, we have to be able to create a pathway forward. We have to know what our mission set is. We have to be able to offer this stability to a generation that is looking for somebody in this room to care. So with that being said, I want to make clear what our intention is making a difference. As the Red Tail Flyer Aviation Program, which is focused as the Enid Youth Center program that right now has alone 5 intentional partnerships with schools, with colleges, with industry here in Enid. People have said, yes, we're on board. We need this. This is important. As far for us, we've talked to our board members, myself being one, talked to our board members. We've talked to the council wisdom of those who have gone before us in industry and business in Enid, who have paved the way as council members, as city officials previously, as industry leaders in the commercial sector. And we've taken their counsel of what do we do? How do we bring stability to youth that need it? And it was the consensus fairly unanimously that in order to make sure that the investment into the youth and the future generations is sustained, is consistent, is that we as making a difference are not able to stay in that building to be able to bring stability moving forward. So just to be clear, to clarify our intention with that, I appreciate the time, Mayor, I'm wrapping up, is that in order to bring that stability, we're going to have to refrain from moving forward with the lease option and making a difference. And the Red Tail Aviation Program, along with the partners with us, we're forced to look for another building to maybe bring some stability. Because right now, to be honest, we can't wait a year. There are kids who need us now. There are generations who need us to act today and tomorrow and next week, wherever they're at, whatever they're doing. So we would ask you to consider as making a difference as a Red Tail Aviation Youth Center program. Please do not consider our concern for who we are as making a difference as a nonprofit in your decision moving forward with the building in the coming weeks. Again, thank you so much. We honor you and your position and what you have. We realize that you have a difficult job, and we're thankful that you're doing it and not us. So thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. John Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, all council members. Some of you know who I am, some of you don't, some of you will. I'm going to first start off by saying I am not affiliated with any business, any for-profit, or any nonprofit in the city of Enid. In my 30 years of working with youth, either as an educator or a program director or a program coordinator, I have seen many youth fall by the wayside just because they don't have a positive infrastructure with which to conduct after-school programs. Now, I used to be the coordinator for the Coach Kid program. That has not been the case for about 2 years now. I'm still getting phone calls. I got a phone call from a grandmother asking me, and I said, I'm not involved. There's nothing I can do. She starts crying. There has to be something. I started meeting with this child while she was there, and things kind of turned around. And she called me 2 months ago. She said, I just wanted to say thank you because you saved my grandson's life. I said, what are you talking about? She said, he was going to kill himself. He said, Grandma, I was going to kill myself until I met John. I'm not saying that for me. I'm saying that because of the need of our kids here in Enid, this same person, mother and father, was addicted. No one's talking about addiction anymore. No one's talking about trauma anymore. No one's talking about any of the hot topics that used to be topics 2 years ago. His parents were selling him physically to men to pay for their drug addiction. He would not bathe because those assaults were taking place in the bathroom. We had a conversation. He started showering. I asked him if there was a little girl he liked. He said, yes, there is. Next time we met, I gave him a bottle of cologne. I said, but you must bathe and spray just a little cologne, not a whole lot. And so whenever he went to school, he would bathe. Whenever he would meet with me, he would bathe. Whenever he would talk to his little friend, he would squirt on a little cologne. So for some people, that's not a big deal. But for those individuals that may have children, whether you are socioeconomically able to put your kid in the best of schools or homeschool your child, what we're talking about, it transcends socioeconomics. It transcends racial demographics. It transcends this part of town from that part of town to that part of town. We are talking about whoever uses this building. I don't care. Whatever programs come out of that building, I don't care, as long as there's programs there. What we're talking about, literally, is the future of Enid. That's the return on the investment. One other story, then I'll shut up and be finished. I ran a program in East Orange, New Jersey, which was right next to Newark, New Jersey, which was during the crack epidemic years, and Newark, New Jersey was the car theft capital of the world. I had a kid come up to me and say, Mr. John, could you walk me home? Why? I'm afraid of the drug dealers. I'm afraid of the gangs. They're going to try to make me a runner because I'm a little kid. Don't think just because we're in Enid, that's not happening here. We're on the 6th traffic highway. Drugs are still proliferating throughout our neighborhoods, and our children are being targeted, even our middle school age kids, because they don't look like they might partake. But when you're talking about putting clothes on backs and food on the table, that's a consideration that a 13, 14, 15-year-old will consider if there's something that does not turn that off. But, so I'm running this program, and it wasn't a big deal. It was called Safe Haven. And we had an after-school program where we kept the gym open till 12 o'clock at night. So between 10 to 12, all the drug dealers were off the street. All the gangbangers were off the street. All the drug runners were off the street. They couldn't sag, meaning their pants all the way down, and they couldn't wear any gang-affiliated colors. 10 hours a week, 2 hours a day, 40 hours a week, crime was driven down significantly, among other social ills, for at least 40 hours a month. Now that might not sound like a lot, but when you factor in everything that could have been happening during those hours, it makes a huge difference. And this is what we're talking about. There have been so many programs that have come through here and have died through lack of sustainability or whatever. We got to stop dropping the ball. And then when you guys do what you need to do, then we can brag about it. And then Enid continues to be a beacon to smaller cities, larger cities, throughout the country, throughout the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily Laddick.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I was reminded this week by a friend about how important it is to do your homework. I've been doing a little of that over the weekend. This bank deal is Stride 2.0, and the renovation presentation from the February 15th study session is outrageous. Based on the known renovation costs that were shared at the study session, asbestos removal, ADA compliance, a new HVAC system, and a new roof puts this project around $1.7 million. So for the next 30 years, the bank building has to daily make $300 in profit, $600 a day if we're paying utilities, and that's just to break even. Is this a financially sound investment? How many of you invest your own money in projects designed to break even in 30 years? Why would you ever consider investing Enid's money in a scheme with no intent to make a return? I already know the answer to both of these questions, and so do the voters in Enid. That's why we have elected a new commission. And the question before this new commission is whether it will participate in the financial folly of the last commission or exercise its fiduciary obligation as municipal officers for the people of Enid. You see, the problem with the city functioning as a real estate developer is that the people making decisions are not risking their own money. You aren't trying to convince a group of investors, a board of directors, or even stockholders to approve your plan. The honest truth is the city currently has no plan to ever profit from this building. Tonight, we're telling you to be philanthropic with your own money and be wise stewards with ours. The people of Enid deserve financial accountability and expect to be treated with respect. Show us your numbers and do your homework.
Okay, thank you. Neanne Clinton?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners.
Evening.
I had some questions for you this evening. I am curious about the bank building purchase for use by a nonprofit organization. I am curious why the city felt obligated to purchase a building that would mainly be used by a private nonprofit organization for a youth program. I myself am on the board of a 501c program that mentors young girls. We sought out and partnered with a local church to host our organization. We did not and will not ask for the taxpayers of Enid to provide for our program. I am curious why the church that is affiliated with Making a Difference is not also providing the meeting space for this program. I am curious why the city didn't consider the Stride Bank Center as a meeting space for this organization. The city is already funding that building and it sits empty most days out of the month. I am curious as to why the previous city commissioner, associate pastor of the affiliated church, and board member of the nonprofit brought this building purchase proposal to the city and that did not recuse himself during the voting process to purchase the bank building. The bank building purchase does not seem like a wise way to spend taxpayer dollars. You say you purchased the building at a reduced cost, but the remediation and code updates to the building will cost the city more than the building appraised for in the first place. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you. J.E. Glaze?
Good evening. I just had one question. The first gentleman who spoke, you're basically saying that you're not going to be using that building now? Correct. So that issue is settled. What I do, over my lifetime of living in Enid, I've realized there's never really been a good after-school program, ever. Things have lasted a couple of years, but I do know in all my years of growing up, I've known fellow students who could have used an after-school program because they didn't have the resources that other kids had or the families that other kids had. And so whatever, if we ever choose to have another after-school program of any kind, I and several others that I know are for that. And that is all.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Norwood, I'd like to address the fact that we do have after-school programs that are in effect, especially in my ward, and especially in Commissioner Norwood's ward.
Okay, but we're not considering this topic tonight. We're just listening to.
But I'm just saying it was something that we don't have, but we do have, and they're established.
Okay, let's go through the list. Wilbur Flynn?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Evening.
I would just like to talk just a little bit about the after-school program. And I do know that we do have something that's established. But I think it's in the best interest of Enid to invest more and more in our kids. I worked for Booker T. Washington for 30 years, and we had after-school program, and we also had the CETA program, too. And I remember at Booker T on the after-school program, and we would have kids that would come in, and we would serve anywhere from 25 to 35, 40 kids. And a lot of those kids, from the time they got off the bus at 3 and 3:30 to the time that their mothers and fathers picked them up at 6:30 and 7, at Booker T, that was the only meal that they got in the evening. Some of them would go home and they would come back and tell us that mom and dad was too busy to fix dinner, and then they would have to wait till they got to school the next day to have something to eat. And then plus, mom and dad didn't have time to help them with homework and after-school studies with that. And plus, we also had facility for them to play activities with in gym and basketball and stuff. So I think it's a great, great program. I know when I was younger, I went to Booker T, and then also, after I got older, I was on the CETA program, to where I also helped with the kids on that. But Enid really needs another after-school program, and what better investment to invest in our kids, to keep them off the streets, to have a place for them to go where they can feel safe, to where if they need help on stuff that they need that they didn't get the learning that at school where they didn't have time to get it, they can have teachers that would be there that can help them, because it's just so hard now for moms and dads to take time out, which they should, to help their kids because they're so busy working. So what better place for them to have an after-school program that they can go and do that and get that help that they need. And then plus, also to make sure that they have a good meal and somebody's watching out for them and investing in them and let them know how much that they love them and how much they care for them. So I just want to say, Alex, I've been with after-school program for over 30 years, and it works. It really works. God bless you guys.
Thank you. Anthony Clardy?
All right, thank you for allowing us to come up and talk with you, Mayor, City Mayor, Councilman. You know, after listening to the different sides about the center, and I really didn't know too much about it, I'm the youth pastor at First Missionary Baptist Church. Mr. Flynn is the pastor of First Missionary Baptist Church. And we have a large contingency of kids. Every Wednesday, we call it our youth meeting. I have ages from almost, I would say from the age of 3 up to high schoolers that are 17. And we feed every Wednesday. He echoed the thought that sometime that may be the only meal they get, because sometime when we do feed them, they go back for seconds and thirds if we have them. And that's a sure way of seeing that they're not getting enough. And, you know, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I am for Enid having something where our kids can go to. I heard someone say something about return on investment. Any endeavor that you get into, that's going to be an issue. I do safety for a living. I work for Autry Technology Center. I'm their safety manager. And I work with a lot of in-district businesses here now. And, you know, it's the same way with safety. You got to have something for these kids to fall into. I'm born and raised here in Enid. And I know that even from Booker T to some of the churches, they have done wonderful work with their kids. You know, we are in a town where division is not as high as you go to a bigger city. I read about and see that on the news. That's a blessing that we don't have that here. Do we have our problems? You bet. But if we don't invest in these kids, your grandkids, where are you going to be 10 years from now? I know, if you don't have this building, think of something else. You're managers of Enid's tax money, and it is very important from a biblical standpoint. Teach your children, and they'll come back. If you don't put something in them, the world will put it in it for them. Okay? So we got to be thought conscious. I know some people, see, there's differences. There's all kind of different levels of people here. Some haves and have-nots. We know that. And it was even in the biblical times, the have and have-nots. But we should have grown enough, and starting from the pulpit, we ought to be taking care of this stuff. If we're taking care of, I've got 30 or 40 kids that come every Wednesday. I have to have 2 buses running to pick them up and then take them home. We have a structure where it comes in that we teach them from the Bible. We have a structure that comes in where we introduce them to different things, computers, music, some kind of structured games that you can reach down and talk to the different ages. And so wherever we come up with something that we can do for these kids, I'm surely for it. Where everybody can come together, not just white, black, brown, yellow, I mean everybody. So that's a question. If you can't do nothing with this building, what can you do? Thank you.
Thank you. Dean Shadell?
Mr. Mayor, good to see you. Council members, city manager. I just wanted to say that United Way of Northwest Oklahoma is probably the only current organization, nonprofit organization, that's actually in the bank center right now. And of course, Great Plains Bank is still in there. We utilize the space up in the upper, I think it's the southwest corner of the building. And it's been a blessing to United Way and our organization. We had conversations about this building even before the building was being considered to be purchased. And we talked about the social, emotional, and behavioral issues that we have with kids and how we would address that. It wasn't that we were trying to duplicate services. It's not like we're trying to duplicate the YMCA, YWCA, CDSA, all these other organizations do a wonderful job and address issues that we have in our community. But it was one of those things that we started talking about, well, what can we do if we can continue to expand and do other programs within the building? The basement has a lot of options. The main floor, the second floor, I understand the cost is going to be substantial, but it's an investment in the future. It's not looking back, it's looking forward. And I think one of the things that we looked at is how do we create a hope center? That's one of the things that, you know, many of the leaders in our community, we've talked about hope, the science of hope. It's being introduced in the school systems. The science of hope makes a difference. Makes a difference. There's your return on investment. The kids, they grow up, if they have hope, even if they incrementally increase their hope, you'll see a difference in our community. You'll see a difference in business, schools, culture, and it goes across the board. That's everybody in our community. So we're hoping that it'll be a hope center. That's what we were hoping it would be, that it would be there for the next generation, not our generation, next generation. So what is it that we have to do? What kind of seeds do we have to plant in order to make it the kind of a center that we need it to be to really serve the people in our community and the issues that we're dealing with, whether it's mental health. Again, if we're investing in social, emotional, and behavioral, targeting programs and activities for these kids, then again, that's a great investment in their future. So one of the things that we do right now, I mean, we utilize this space upstairs. We open it up. We've been using it, having board meetings. A lot of our nonprofits have meetings in the conference room on the second floor. And I'm sure that there's a major investment to be made in order to bring that building up to where it needs to be for code and everything else. I don't know what that is, but I know that the investment, we'll have a return on that investment in the next generation and the generations after that. So I'm in favor of working with the city council, with our community, to provide the kind of wraparound services maybe in the Hope Center for people that need them. And again, not duplicating services at CDSA, not duplicating services at the YMCA, having different kinds of programs. And maybe that's partnerships with Autry and having STEM programs down to the basement, and kids can come in and have kind of STEM science fairs or whatever it might be. There are all kinds of different options that we can look at, and I think that's maybe where we're at. We need to look at, well, what could we do? And then maybe we could see our way forward. So, thank you.
Thank you. Justin Simmons.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to all of us. I appreciate it very much, and I appreciate all of your service. As many of you know, I've been doing this for a very long time, and I'm very tired. I'm tired of living in Enid. I'm tired of doing what I do. It's getting ridiculous. I came to Enid in 1994 to go to college at Phillips University, got my master's degree in social work from OU, stayed here, raised my family, and I've got a child that's going to graduate next year. And the way I feel right now, I'll be looking for a new community. I don't like living in a place where everything is about money. It's not about money. It's about investing in our community. It's about having a good quality of life in our community. It's about teaching our kids character and morale and good stewardship and good citizenship so that they stay here and make this a better community. And apparently, we don't have a lot of interest in that. We just want to make an investment. And I want to just clarify one main thing. This was never supposed to be a good deal on real estate. That was not any part of the conversation. And so I don't know why we're questioning whether it was a good deal real estate-wise. Anybody can tell you that it's not. But cities upon cities upon cities invest in their families, invest in their children. Have you guys ever gone to Utah? They invest in their families like crazy. It embarrasses me how much. They're beautiful places for you to take your families in Utah. I grew up an hour away in Blackwell, Oklahoma, a town of 8,000 people if everybody's there. It's probably closer to 6,000 people today. They have a city-sponsored youth center that I grew up in. I played volleyball in that youth center. I danced in that youth center when the principal of the Christian school that I went to didn't know about it because we weren't allowed to go to dances. But I played volleyball, I danced, I played basketball. I did not do drugs. I did not drink because there was people there sponsoring us and making sure that we weren't doing that stuff. And I had positive mentors in my life because of that place. If a town of 6,000 people thinks it's a good idea to buy a little block of land and invest in their kids for I don't know how many years, I looked it up online the other day just to make sure it was still there, and it's still there. I don't know why Enid, 50,000 people strong, can't do that. Now, one more thing. I looked at Oklahoma City, and honestly, I don't keep track of their politics because I don't live in Oklahoma City, but in 2019, they proposed a MAPS project for families, and in that MAPS project was a proposal of $110 million to stand up 4 youth centers across the state of Oklahoma City. And I realize we're not Oklahoma City, we're a lot smaller. But if I do my math, and I have to be honest with you, I'm not used to doing math with millions of dollars, but if I did my math correctly, if you assume Oklahoma City has a population of approximately 500,000 people, and you divide that by $110 million, that comes out to about $220 per person in Oklahoma City. If you take 50,000 people and multiply that by $220, that comes out to $11 million. Sorry. We're talking about an investment of approximately $1.5 to $2 million at the top end of it, and that's over several years. We have a boiler and an air conditioner that won't even need to be replaced until who knows when. But when it does, it's going to be a pretty penny to replace. This is a nice building in downtown Enid. Why don't we do it at World Harvest Church, the church that supports making a difference and has board members from World Harvest Church on it? Because it's all the way over on the west side of town. Ask a kid on the east side of town to walk home from their youth center. It needs to be centrally located so kids can get there without transportation and so forth. So basically, I'd really love for Enid to see the light and see that investing in our kids is investing in our future. But I don't know if we're going to do that. I was extremely disheartened last time. And Mr. Orr, I don't blame you for asking questions. That's great. You have a right to ask questions. That's what you're here to do. But I was honestly disheartened with a bunch of the other people on this commission that didn't answer the questions, that didn't say, excuse me, sir, this is not a real estate investment. This is why we did this. And when I saw that, my heart just completely sunk in my chair. And I wanted to start looking for houses in another community. So if I say any more, I'm going to start crying, so I'm going to stop. Thank you.
All right.
Do you have one more thing? I'm sorry. Can I ask just one more thing? I saw Jonathan over there, and I thought, oh, forgot. I want to clarify. Jonathan has gotten no personal benefit from all of this. Each one of you volunteered your time to do all this, and why you do it, I honestly do not know. Because you can't win for losing. No matter what you decide, somebody's going to be mad at you. Don't know why you guys do it, but I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate Jonathan's service on the committee, on the commission. And yes, he is currently an associate pastor at World Harvest Church. He volunteers his time to do that, to work on marriage ministries on Wednesday night, to keep people from divorcing, to keep having all the issues that come along with that with children. He volunteers his time at making a difference. He's not a board member. He's been helping us get this program stood up and has spent hours upon hours on doing it. When I was in school for social work, we talked about correlation and causation don't always go together. So just because something is happening at the same time doesn't mean they have anything to do with each other. And one thing I want this entire community to know is just because somebody happens to have their hand in a bunch of things doesn't mean they're a criminal.
That's right.
All right?
Melissa Crabtree.
Hi there. Thank you guys for your time. I will be quite quick. So I was, coming to the city council meetings when this building was purchased, and actually, I remember how quickly it happened, because as it happened, I sat there and I thought, they just bought this building and we didn't, it felt to me like it came by really quickly, so I apologize that I didn't notice it then and bring up any of my questions then as it happened, because as I sat there watching the vote happen, I was frustrated that I didn't realize it and bring up these same questions that I have tonight. So I don't think anybody's questioning the validity of a program that serves kids. And emotional arguments are really not the right way to debate an issue. We can always find an emotional argument to try and make somebody feel sorry for an issue, and then there's a victim, and then we can get hearts and sway them. But it's really not the right way to solve an issue. If we really want to invest in the future, how about we sell off a whole lot of the property? We have 16 pages of buildings that the city owns. How about we sell off some of that property, lower the cost of living, so the parents can work less and spend time with their own children, instead of sending them to after-school programs? It's the role of the church and private organizations to invest in the hearts of the children. It's the role of the government to manage the budget. So you guys don't need to feel bad for asking questions and not speaking to investing in the hearts of the kids, because your job is to set the budget for the city, and that's an important distinction, and you guys don't need to feel bad about that. That's your job that you were elected to do, was wisely manage the tax dollars of the taxpayers for the city of Enid. So thank you for doing that and asking those questions. So back to the main question we need to be asking. Is it the city's role to be in the real estate business? That's the question. Not how good is the program that's going to be in the building. It has nothing to do with it. What is the city's role in this building? And is it a wise business decision? Because that is the job that you guys have been elected and set out to do. So thank you guys for doing that.
Okay. That's all that signed up. I will let you guys speak, but the same rules as everybody else. There's going to be no interaction with anybody in the crowd. If you want to make a statement that meets the 3-minute criteria, please go ahead.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to kick it off. Thank God for each and every one of you all that are here tonight. It shows that you care, whether you agree or disagree with one another. I spent a lot of time on this, and I'm known for having a heart for the children, and that's something that God gave me. The statement was, we were spending too much money on a building for after-school program. We said that we believe that we can support other programs much cheaper. I want to see that happen. Let's not just talk about it, let's make it happen. My question is, what are we going to do about our youth enrichment? What are we going to do about our youth and their enrichment? We're responsible. One day you're going to get old. And those same children, if we overlook them, they might overlook you. And if we don't prepare them for the future, you're going to have a hard time making it. When you can't walk on your own, you can't bathe your own self, you can't do for yourself. Why? Because we're responsible to take care of these children. We talk about tax dollars. I pay the tax dollars to the IRS every year. I pay tax dollars to the state of Oklahoma every year. And a lot of money we don't receive. We are an entitlement city in Oklahoma. We're none of the top 9 entitlement cities in Oklahoma. What does that mean? We don't have to go through the state to get our funding. We can get it directly from the federal government. And in that, we lose millions of dollars. And it goes to Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Muskogee, Shawnee, Stillwater, Ponca City, all these places. Why? Because we don't even have a housing authority. Neither do we have the after-school programs that we need here in Enid. It's time for us to invest. And Booker T, we give these children we give them the cream off the milk. It's time to give them the cow. It's time. We need to stop this. It's an embarrassment. We say we love God and we love children. Let's prove it. Let's prove it. We have a say-so. As a governing body, as your elected officials, we have a say-so. We spend money everywhere else. We have over $317 million water project coming in. You mean we can't spend a little bit for our children? Who's going to give back to us when we need them? Next question. What are we going to do about the decline in our school attendance? They're on decline. They're not attending school. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? It's hard. What are we going to do? Are we going to eliminate the social programs? Are we going to create, or are we going to fix the gap? We have to fix the gap. If you do any studies, you will find out that the middle class is the foundation of America. The middle class is the foundation of our economic system. What is the middle class? I'm in construction. I'll just take a house as an analogy. The middle class is the foundation. The middle class is the footing. The middle class are the piers and beams and trusses. The middle class is the ridge. That's the thing that holds it together. The middle class is the threshold and the headers of our economic system. If we get rid of our middle class, it's going to be hard to survive. It's going to be hard for us to survive. A few statistics. Unemployment rate here in Enid is 3.7. The U.S. average is 6%. Our future growth prediction is 9.7. The U.S. average is 33.5%. Tax rates in Enid. Remind you, yes, we do have a lower rate in living here. We do. But the numbers say different. Enid, our sales tax rate is 9.1. The U.S. average is 7.3. Income rate, 5% in Enid. The U.S. average is 4.6. We got them. Income and salaries in Enid. For the average income a year is $24,076 a year. The U.S. average is $28,555 a year. The median household income is a husband and a wife and children, $44,266 a year. The average across the United States is $53,482 a year. Our ad valorem taxes is 5%, and it's going at that rate indefinitely every year. Our taxes are increasing every year, and our wages are down. I'm almost done. How do we stop the gap? How do we just stop the gap? We promote Tech, NOC, Northwestern Oklahoma State University. Let's promote our education systems. I talked to Dr. Floyd Friday at Ambucks. We had a good conversation. Judge Newby, some of the other attorneys, I'm almost done, Mayor. I talked to them. You know what? Enid is getting ready to pilot in an aviation technology course at Enid High School, FFA at Enid High School. They know that there's a need for programs like this. Thing we need to concentrate on is the quality of life for our children, socially, educationally, and economically. We need to improve by proving the road of opportunity for our youth. By improving the road of opportunity for our youth. It's for us to do this. We need to promote and build up our industrial park. In this man's ward, Ward 3, he has the industrial park. We need to promote it and build it. And I'm almost done. Building the warehouse and manufacturing industry in our industrial park. We need to get with ERDA. Anybody know Lisa Powell? We need to get with her and get on board with ERDA and build up our industry sector so that these children will be able to be in school and they'll be able to go and have some type of technology. They'll be able to be IT. They can be anything they want to be, because I'm sick and tired of hearing them have to go to Denver, Colorado. I'm tired of hearing them having to go to Dallas and Houston, Texas, Kansas City, Missouri. They have to go all the way up to Wichita, Kansas, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Arkansas, when they can stay right here in Enid. I believe the problem is we are afraid of growth and we are afraid of diversity. That's all I have to say.
You may have stole your thunder. Did you have anything else?
I yielded my time to him because
can't do that.
I covered everything that I was going to say about it.
Okay, if you covered your
whatnot.
that's fine.
I said Booker T. Washington's program. I was involved with it when I was a community police officer down there. It was an awesome program. It remains an awesome program. They've had a lot of funding taken from them, which I had an issue with because they did a lot of work, and they still continue to do a lot of work with our youth. I understand the pandemic has caused a lot of issues with the programs, the getting together and everything else. We're coming out of that. I said the programs that we have, we need to invest back into those programs because they have been working, especially in my ward. Zoe Bible, they had an excellent after-school program. Mr. Green started it with the Zoe Bible Church before he passed away. His wife continued his legacy over there with them. They joined with Booker T. Washington and worked together as a union and everything. That's what a neighborhood's about. They took two different neighborhoods and brought those neighborhoods that barriered each other and brought them together. And they took those kids and they made a lot of progress with a lot of kids that were going down the wrong avenue.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'd like to offer any of the other commissioners, if you had brief comments that you'd like to make. I don't want to just not allow. Okay.
I'm not going to sit up here and rebut what has been said. I think there's a lot of truth to it. I'm not going to argue. I'm not in a position. I'm not educated on the subject enough to say whether there's a need for this and Enid or not. If there is, what I've heard here is a lot of passion and caring about the kids. I think there's a noble mission out there, and I think is there a need for it? Probably. But I don't think the city needs to own this building. I'd be all for, if several of these organizations want to get together and buy this building, we probably have a pretty good sale price on it. I just don't want the city to be on the hook for it for the next 10, 20, 30 years. What if something major happens to it? Now, what's that going to cost us? We're already sitting almost short of $2 million in this building. We've already got an albatross, and it's called the Stride Bank Center. When that was built against the wishes of the voters, it was promised to us that it would be self-sufficient within 3 or 4 years. Well, guess what, folks? It's not. We're still subsidizing that building to the tune of about $300,000 or $400,000. Am I correct, Cheryl?
Yes.
Yeah. It's to the tune of $300,000 or $400,000 a year. We've got a downtown hotel that we built that is still not at the occupancy rates that we thought it was going to be, and we're still subsidizing that. Not to mention all the properties that this city owns that we pay for maintenance on it, mowing, taxes, I don't know what else the costs are, but it's unnecessary cost. Now, I'm going to go back, and I think that, like I said, I think there are other ways that the city can be involved with this other than owning this building. I don't see that as a function of the city government, owning property to lease out. It's just not, it doesn't make sense to me at all. I have seen no business plan, I've seen no nothing, and I don't want this to be another albatross to the taxpayers. It's not fair. Is there a need? Yes, but let's find a different way. Let's sit down and figure out different grants, donations, other ways that the city can help with these programs other than providing a building. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Others? You don't have to speak, I'm just giving.
I know, but I was asked to mention a couple of things. So the city does have a lot of buildings. It has a lot of land. They're called airports. They're called golf courses. They're called parks. Government Springs, Meadow Lake. We'll operate and maintain those. Fire department doesn't make us any money. Police department doesn't make us any money. We built a Stride Center to replace a building that wasn't making us any money. We're going to spend more money on the Stride Center than we ever did on the building that it replaced. When you have a project like what we've been asked to put together here, it came, some minds much better than mine. They were looking for a building already, and the city was going to participate in buying that building. And the building that we looked at, it just wasn't going to be suitable, and it was smack dab in the middle of downtown. This city government was going to get involved in this project one way or the other, and this just happens to be the other. And we need to offer some space for this organization, and there's other organizations that are going to be able to utilize this building. Just like we have meetings for all kinds of different organizations at our library, we will be able to do that at this building. It was a $250,000 building. That's what we paid for it. We okayed in a budget that this seated commission voted for and passed to put a new roof on it, to address ADA issues with restrooms, and to take care of the asbestos. And that's where we are with it right now. I agree, we don't need to be taking down any walls. We don't need to be building anything for somebody we don't have in hand. I'm a believer of bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. And in this particular situation, we have the bird in hand. And we just need to give it a nest and then let it develop itself. I hate it that the city doesn't make money on everything that we have, but it is a part of government. And one time, Derwin said it the best. He said, Jerry, we are the government. And so we try to make good decisions, and we try to do the best that we can with what we have. And it is wonderful that people can come to us and bring up that they might not necessarily agree with us with the information they have at hand. I don't believe in saying, trust us, we're from the government, but in this particular instance, there's a long history of people who have been trying to put this project together. It didn't happen in 1 year. It's been over 3 or 4 years. This has been ongoing. And so that's just my position on it. I've just basically been sitting and watching. And we have wonderful organizations in Enid that are supported by United Way and all the wonderful folks here in town that donate heavily. And there are people waiting to put money in this building and help us out. One thing last I have to say about when we were doing this, I would not vote for this project because I didn't know what it was going to cost to replace a boiler. And they kept putting me off and putting me off. And I said, in the end, I was like, I'm not going to vote for that unless you can tell me what it's going to cost. And it came in way under what I thought it was going to be. And so that's why I went for this project, because there is maintenance issues, but there's maintenance issues on every building in this town that we're part of. So that's why I voted for it. I believed in the people that were putting the project together and their organization, and that I thought we'd be able to operate that building. That's all I have to say, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. I've got one more question to present. I mean, if we end up keeping this building, where does it stop? I mean, if we provide this building for these certain organizations, where does it stop? Like, we're going to have other organizations come to us and say, well, why don't you guys provide us a building?
Well, they have that
I think
privilege
that's
to
part of
come
the
to
discussion
us.
we'll have later on. Tonight it was just to
Well, it's
let...
something I want to think about because
No.
it's a
fine.
valid point.
It is.
Where does it stop?
Yeah. I think we're reaching the point where we're almost conducting business, and we should not be, so I'm just trying to draw the line there. Your comments are valid, and they will be discussed when it's time to vote.
And Mayor, if I may, I would just like to say, I think this is very important, if it's okay. As we discussed, we may use it as well as an extension for city growth. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Next up, item number 6, hearings. Item 6.1, conduct a public hearing to consider an ordinance closing to the public an easement approximately 50 feet in width located within the Stonebridge development. This is a hearing only, so.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. We received a request to close a portion of it right-of-way, right, in the Stonebridge development. And this is to utilize for the development of the commercial property. So this is a public hearing if you have any questions.
And I would just clarify for the commission, this is a street that was either platted or an easement was given to us. The
Yes.
street was never constructed there. and
That's right, sir.
The property around it is owned by a developer who wants to do something productive with it.
Yep.
So that's what our portion is to close it, which we're bringing for action tonight.
Right.
It looks like commercial development going in the middle of a neighborhood, is that right?
Yeah, Morali, it's the Gene Anderson development. It's next to, I believe he's got a planned office park in there, Morali. Is that
Yes.
what we're talking about?
That's right.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And so he's submitted a site plan that's been approved, and I don't know where he's at on his building permits. Maybe those have been approved too, but this is a portion to close to allow him on, between properties that he's owned or can develop. It allows him to do something wonderful there, which was some of that industry or retail or development that we were just, some of us were talking about.
It was an office.
And the best thing is they're not coming to us for any money.
All right, that's, nobody requested to speak on it, so we will move to the next item. Mr. Mitchell, you're getting ready to, if you have a few moments, I'd like to speak with you if you're going to be here. Okay. Good, thank you. All right, item number 7, administration. Item 7.1, consider an ordinance closing to the public an easement approximately 50 feet in width located within Stonebridge development, southeast quarter of Section 2, Township 22 North, Range 7 west of the Indian Meridian, Garfield County, State of Oklahoma, more particularly set out in the body of this ordinance, providing for repealer, savings clause, and severability. I presume we're talking about the...
Yes, companion items.
Okay, it's a companion item, so I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Motion carries 6-0. Item 7.2, approve an economic development and support agreement between Oklahoma Gas and Electric Company and the City of Enid.
Mayor, we've been in negotiations with OG&E. Their 25-year franchise terminates in November 2022, and we have worked with them. And the next item is to pass the franchise agreement. This item is for an economic development and support agreement that they're providing for our community, and it includes specific upgrades to street lights and for instance, the downtown street lights that have been there for a very long time. Those are going to be upgraded. The street lights along US 81 and Van Buren overpass, and the decorative lights that run south and north of Chestnut and Cleveland. In addition, they are providing $500,000 for economic development and support, $100,000 each year for the next 5 years, beginning in January of 2023.
Okay. So that was 7.2. I guess I'll read 7.3.
No. I just was saying that this is in conjunction with the franchise agreement, and that's
Okay.
the second one. But I think we're ready now to approve or disapprove
Well, I
the
would move
economic
that we approve
development.
7.2. Isn't that what you're looking
And I
for?
will second.
Yes.
There you go.
Second that motion,
Bingo.
approval of 7.2.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Okay, now we can go to 7.3. Consider an ordinance granting to the Oklahoma Gas and Electric Company and Oklahoma Corporation and its successors the right to produce, transmit, and distribute electricity within the city limits and to sell electricity therein for all purposes for which it may be used to the City of Enid, Garfield County, Oklahoma, its inhabitants and the public generally, and the right to construct, maintain, and operate a system of poles, wires, conduits, and other facilities and equipment in, upon, across, under, and over the streets, alleys, public grounds, and other places in the city for such purposes for a period of 25 years from the approval and acceptance of the ordinance, defining words and phrases therein, granting the franchise, use and repair of rights of way, providing indemnification, regulation of service, assignment, sale and purchase, compensation to the city, electricity to the city, notices, setting of an election, and acceptance of franchise.
So 25 years ago, I voted no on and all this. So I just waiting for the mayor to get finished with this good reading and to be the guy that says, I want to make a motion to approve this franchise agreement because it is better than the one that we had last time, and that was 25 years ago.
I think you're afraid you'll be here 25 years from now.
Well, no, I think OG&E's afraid I'll still be here 25 years from now.
Okay. Pardon my interruption. We have a motion?
Yep.
Weren't you on the franchise also, Rob?
I was on the ONG, but not the
Would you like to second this motion
I
before
will
I
second
do?
it, though. I will second it.
Before the vote, since we have people in the audience.
Yes.
This is a non-exclusive franchise. It has to be voted on by the people.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to say, and
So our approval just means that it will be
placed
included
on
in an
the
election.
agenda. Excuse me, placed on the June 28th election, and that is
that's
the
7-4.
next.
That's
Yes,
7-4. We're on
yes.
7-3
But I
still.
just wanted everyone to know, because we don't do franchises that often every 25 years.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No other discussion. Please cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Now, I keep getting ahead of myself here. I should have read the next page. 7.4, consider resolution authorizing the calling and holding of a special election in the city of Enid, Oklahoma, for the purpose of submitting to the registered qualified voters of said city the question of whether a franchise agreement shall be granted to Oklahoma Gas and Electric Company and Oklahoma Corporation to produce, transmit, and distribute electricity for a term of 25 years with provisions related to the operation and enforcement of the franchise, calling a special municipal election to be held in the city of Enid, Oklahoma on June 28, 2022.
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Any other discussion?
Well, if people would vote no on this, then what would happen?
Well, then you'd have to come back in 25 years.
Well, actually, we're timing it so that if people voted no, we would have another opportunity to convince them. But I'm confident that
We do a good
OG&E
job of that, don't we?
But I'm confident that people are happy with OG&E, and that won't be necessary.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Exactly.
All right. Item number 8, consent agenda items.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item number 9, recess to convene as the Enid Municipal Authority. Item number 10, all trustees of the Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item number 11, Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 11.1, approve an agreement for professional consulting services with Burns and McDonnell Engineering Company Incorporated, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, for solid waste master planning in the amount of $47,700.
Yeah, this is the item that we had previously talked about in a study session some time ago, talking about hiring an engineer that specializes in solid waste stuff to look at our operations, to look at our landfill space, and to give us recommendations for things like rate structures and future landfill expansions and recycling and all those kind of things. And this is the cost to do that. And I believe the agreement, I don't recall the specifics, but I think it's going to take 4 or 5 months to do that. And then we'll have results that we can bring back and share with you and have for future planning and budgeting purposes as we move forward with potential improvements in the solid waste pickup, collection, and refuse system.
Okay.
I move approval.
Second.
Motion to approve and second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item 11.2, approval of claims in the amount of $254,915.22.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Any other discussion? Cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item 12, adjourn to convene as the Enid Public Transportation Authority. Item 13, all trustees of the Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item 14, the Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 14.1, approval of claims in the amount of $1,823.68.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Item 15, adjourn to reconvene as the Enid City Commission. Item 16, executive session. Item 16.1, consider convening into executive session to discuss a possible economic development proposal to bring a theater to Enid, Enid versus Anderson, CV 2020-134, and other unacquired properties needed for the Call Lake Pipeline, and to conduct evaluations of the city attorney and the city manager, and then to reconvene into regular session to take any necessary action.
Move we go into executive session.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please cast your ballots. Motion carries 7-0. Beach upstairs, we'll get started at 8 o'clock. Give you a comfort break.
Yes.